Hello students, you are with Bindu Chaudhary and we are continuing today our past part 3rd chapter 6. The name of the chapter is Weavers, Iron Smelters and Factory Owners. Today we are covering its part 2nd, but before covering part 2nd, what happened in the previous part, let's recall that one also. In the previous part we discussed about the different types of chhints, bandhani, bandhej and extra, and how these products transported or exported from India to abroad. Especially Queen of Britain also liked the prints of chhints, and how chhints and bandhej and bandhani and different types of clothings were there on that time. But who weave them? Who are the weavers of that time? At present also students, weaving is a best process for the clothings. So we are continuing in this part. Who were the weavers? Weavers often belong to communities that specialized in weaving. So its definition is totally clear to all of you, that the communities which are indulged in the weaving process belonged to the weavers. Okay, their skills were passed on from one generation to the next. This one is the best quality to the forefathers to give them their knowledge to the young generation. So here in weaving what happened, the knowledge is spread from one generation to the next. There were different types of weaver on that time. See, the Tanti weavers of Bengal who belonged from the Bengal, they are called Tanti weavers. The Julasas or Momin weavers of North India. When we are talking about North India, on that time these Julasa or Momin were known as the best weavers of the North Indian portion. And we are talking about Sale and Kekolar and Devangs of South India are also some of the communities famous for weaving. So here we are discussing about the communities, different communities of weaving. For example, in North India, for example, in South India, for example, in what Tantiya weaver. So here is the Devangs of South Indian. So different regions, different territories had different types of weavers and they belong to different castes on that time. The first stage of production was spinning, a work done mostly by women. See how the process were going on that time for the purpose of the weaving. Starting process was done by women of that time. So what is the starting process? Spinning was the starting process for the weaving process. Okay, and this process, spinning process, was mostly done by the women of that time. The charkha and takli were household spinning instruments. See, when we are talking about the industrial purpose, then this one is the air. But when we are talking about the home remedies or home instruments of that time, then we recalled about the चरखाज एंड द तकली. आपको महात्मा गांधी का चरखा याद होगा बच्चों कि कैसे वो चरखे पे काटते रहते थे रुई को. तो यहाँ पे हम क्या देखते हैं कि सूत काटना बहुत बड़ी बात है. एंड हेयर दिस स्पिनिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स यूज्ड एट होम वर चरखाज एंड तकली. The thread was spun on the charkha and rolled on the takli. What was the process of spinning on that time at home, students? The process was that the thread was spun first one on the charkha and after that rolled on the तकली. तकली में उसको चरखे से प्रोसेस करने के बाद में रोल करके रखा जाता था. When the spinning was over, the thread was woven into cloth by the weaver. See, after the process of spinning, what happened, students? Again the next process started and the process was woven into cloth. And who did this? Weavers did this. So this one is the best example. सी हेयर, सबसे पहले स्पिनिंग की गई, घर पे करते हैं तो चरखा और तकली से करते हैं। स्पिनिंग का प्रोसेस किसके द्वारा किया गया बच्चों? स्पिनिंग का प्रोसेस किया गया वुमेन्स के द्वारा। ओके, एंड आफ्टर दिस स्पिनिंग प्रोसेस व्हाट हैपेंड? वोवन्स into cloth by the weavers. Okay, in most communities weaving was a task done by men. See, just we are talking about the women's, but here this is the main theme of this chapter also, that the most communities, what happened, the weaving process or the task was done by the men. No women were allowed on that time for this purpose. For colored textiles, the thread was dyed by the dyer known as रंगरेज। जब कपड़ा बन गया है, कपड़ा बनने के बाद में क्या प्रोसेस आ रहा है बच्चों? कि कलर चाहिए, कपड़े में कलर चाहिए। फॉर दैट पर्पज व्हाट हैपेंड? इन कलर्ड टेक्सटाइल्स द थ्रेड वाज डाइड एंड द थ्रेड वाज डाइड बाय द रंगरेजेस. So Rangraj is known as the dyer of that time for the purpose of the cloth. And next one is, for printed cloth the weavers needed the help of specialist block printers known as छिपगार्स. आपको पता है छिपगार्स किसको कहते हैं बच्चों? जब किसी चीज़ को ब्लॉक के हिसाब से प्रिंट किया जाता है, ठप्पे के हिसाब से प्रिंट करके कपड़े को, प्रिंटेड कपड़े को तैयार किया जाता है, जो तैयार करने वाले हैं वो कौन कहला रहे हैं? छिपगार्स कहला रहे हैं. और दैट क्लॉथ वाज नोन एज प्रिंटेड क्लॉथ और ब्लॉक प्रिंटर. ओके, हैंडलूम वीविंग. आपने हैंडलूम, नेशनल हैंडलूम और दूसरे हैंडलूम्स के बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा सुना होगा बच्चों. हैंडलूम वीविंग एंड द ऑक्यूपेशन एसोसिएटेड विद इट प्रोवाइडेड लिवलीहुड फॉर मिलियंस ऑफ इंडियंस. सो this one is the best example of employment for the purpose of the weavers. So what happened in India? For the livelihood of millions of the Indians, this handloom weaving was associated with the main occupation. So weavers concept is clear, weaving is clear. What about Rangraj? What about Chipgars? Everything is clear to you? Okay. See the next one. This one is the raising height of the cotton textile or the weavers process. But what happened? The decline of Indian textiles. Many circumstances rose that time, and for that purpose our Indian textile market was totally declined. Many reasons were there of that time. We will take one by one here. The development of cotton industries in Britain affected textile producers in India in several ways. In the previous part we had already discussed that Britain was the main market for the purpose of the Indian clothes or Indian textiles. But what happened when the development of industries in Britain also came into existence? Then the main effect was done in ourselves. Or what happened? See, the textile producers in India in several ways they were declining. What are the steps for that one? See, first step is Indian textile now had to compete with British textiles in द यूरोपियन एंड अमेरिकन मार्केट्स. अभी तक हम कहते थे कि ब्रिटेन की जो महारानी है वो भी इंडिया के ही क्लोथ्स को पहनती थी. बट व्हाट हैपेंड? जब ब्रिटेन में ही टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्रीज डेवलप हो गई हैं, आफ्टर दैट व्हाट हैपेंड? इंडियन टेक्सटाइल्स हैड अ हार्ड competitor with the British textiles and the European as well as American markets. Second issue was exporting textiles to England also became increasingly difficult since very high duties were imposed on Indian textiles imported into Britain. Next issue, what happened students? The high tax duties imposed on the exporting of the textile of the Indian. clothes was also the main cause of the declining of the textile market. What happened? See, जो हमारे यहाँ से कपड़ा जाता था उस कपड़े पे टैक्स बहुत ज़्यादा लगा दिया गया, ड्यूटीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा लगा दी गई, और इसके द्वारा क्या हुआ, जो भी कपड़ा ब्रिटेन जा रहा था, जो भी कपड़ा हम कह सकते हैं इंग्लैंड की तरफ जा रहा था, तो इंग्लैंड के द्वारा जो इम्पोज किया गया था ड्यूटीज़ को, वो भी हमारे इंडियन टेक्सटाइल मार्केट को डिक्लाइन करने में इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल अदा करता है. नेक्स्ट इज बट वर्स वाज स्टिल टू कम. अभी इतना ही पर्याप्त नहीं था. मोर diverse conditions also came on that time. More worst conditions was still to come that time. See what happened. By the 1830s, British cotton cloth flooded Indian markets. What happened in the year 1830s? British cotton clothes flooded into Indian market. For an example, आपने देखा होगा कि स्वदेशी अपनाओ और विदेशी कपड़ों की होली जलाओ, ये उस समय एक बहुत बड़ा नारा बन गया था, और इसका मेन रीज़न यही था. 1830 में क्या हुआ बच्चों, जो ब्रिटेन के क्लोथ्स थे, कॉटन क्लोथ्स थे स्पेशली, उनको इंडियन मार्केट्स में उतारा जाने लग गया था. इनफैक्ट बाय द 1880s 2/3 of all the cotton clothes worn by Indians were made up of cloth produced in Britain. See what happened, what the worst circumstances was there on that time. In fact, in the 1880s 2/3 of the cotton clothes worn by the Indians was made up by what, were made up by the clothes produced in the Britain. So worst condition, so much worst condition for the declining of the Indian cotton textile market here. This affected not only specialized weavers but also spinners. What happened that time? When British clothes were coming in the Indian markets, then what happened to the weavers and what happened to the spinners? Their conditions became worse and worse day by day because they were affected from all these things. आपको खुद को पता है कि जब हमारे यहाँ की चीज़ को लोग नहीं पहन रहे हैं, ब्रिटेन के क्लोथ से बनी हुई चीज़ें पहन रहे हैं, ऑन दैट कंडीशन हमारे वीवर्स की तो पोजीशन बुरी होनी ही थी, हमारे स्पिनर्स की पोजीशन तो बुरी होनी ही थी. Thousands of rural women who made a living by spinning cotton thread were rendered jobless. Not only men suffered that time, women, we had already discussed that most of the women were indulged in the spinning work. So rural women who lived on the basis of the spinning of the cotton thread were rendered jobless. So this was the worst condition and unemployment raised on that time. See, you must have heard of Sholapur in Western India and Madurai in South India. ये बहुत बड़े पार्ट हैं हमारे इंडिया के. अगर हम बात करें टेक्सटाइल मार्केट की तो सबसे पहले शोलापुर का नाम आता है, शोलापुर Western India, and the name of Madurai in South India was also the main name there. These towns emerged as important new centers of weaving in the late 19th century. 19th century के अंत तक क्या हुआ, मदुरई और शोलापुर में बहुत बड़ा टेक्सटाइल मार्केट, टेक्सटाइल सेंटर जो हैं वो शुरू हो गए थे. Later during the national movement, Mahatma Gandhi urged people to boycott imported textiles and use hand spun and hand woven clothes. See, just we had discussed about the movement there. Mahatma Gandhi urged the people of the India that they boycott the imported textile and use only hand spun and hand woven clothes of India. हमने अभी आपको बताया था स्वदेशी अपनाओ और विदेशी कपड़ों की होली जलाई गई थी. तो यह जो मूवमेंट है महात्मा गांधी के द्वारा जो शुरू किया गया था, ये एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट रोल टेक्सटाइल मार्केट के लिए लेकर आया था. खादी ग्रेजुअली बिकेम अ सिंबल ऑफ नेशनलिज्म. और यहाँ पे उस समय जब से सबसे बड़ा मूवमेंट चल रहा था तो क्या उभर के आया, खादी जो है, खादी को एक मेन क्लोथिंग के रूप में लिया गया, खादी को एक सिंबल के रूप में लिया गया नेशनलिज्म के। तो यहाँ पे खादी का उदय भी हो रहा है एंड द बाइकॉट ऑफ द फॉरेन क्लोथ्स were also there on that time. The charkha came to represent India. We had already discussed that Mahatma Gandhi always spin charkhas and used takli also. So what happened, the charkha came to represent India and it was put at the center of the tricolor flag of the Indian National Congress adopted in the year 1931. इतना जब मूवमेंट्स चल रहे थे उस कंडीशन में, जब मूवमेंट्स के संग संग हमने क्या देखा, चरखा का बहुतायत यूज होने लग गया। एंड व्हेन चरखा केम इनटू एग्जिस्टेंस, व्हाट हैपेंड, दिस चरखा पुट एट द सेंटर ऑफ द ट्राइकलर फ्लैग of Indian National Congress adopted in the year 1931. सबसे पहले किसने चरखे को अडॉप्ट किया था बच्चों, इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस ने किया था, 1931 में किया था। तो चरखे के जो ये हम बताते हैं ना तिल्लियाँ जिसको हम बोलते हैं, सो ये जो है ये चरखे का जो रोल है ये इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस के द्वारा इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में लाया गया था। एंड what happened after this one, cotton mills come up. Just we read about the declining of the market, then now cotton mills come up again. The first cotton mill in India was set up as a spinning mill in Mumbai or Bombay of that time in the year 1854. आज हम जिसको बच्चों मुंबई कह रहे हैं, 1854 में उसे बॉम्बे कहा जाता था। एंड व्हाट हैपेंड, फर्स्ट कॉटन मिल ऑफ इंडिया was set up and this spinning mill was set up in the year 1854. From the early 19th century, Bombay had grown as important port for the export of raw cotton from India to England and China. Situations changed and after that what happened, this Mumbai became the main center of the 19th centuries to grow the important power to for the export of the raw cotton. जो हम कहते हैं ना कच्ची कॉटन की बात कर रहे हैं, तो मुंबई को सेंटर माना गया एंड दिस रॉ कॉटन was exported from India to England and China. Again we are continuing about the rising up of the cotton mills in India. It was close to the west black soil tract of western India where cotton was grown. बॉम्बे की बात कर रहे हैं, बॉम्बे के बाद हम क्या कहते हैं, वेस्ट ब्लैक सॉयल की बात कर रहे हैं। एंड दिस वेस्ट ब्लैक सॉयल ट्रैक्ट ऑफ वेस्टर्न इंडिया वर कॉटन वॉज ग्रोन। कहाँ कॉटन ग्रोन हो रही थी बच्चों, कॉटन का ग्रोइंग हो रहा था वेस्टर्न पार्ट में। क्यों हो रहा था, क्योंकि वहाँ पे वेस्ट ब्लैक सॉयल बहुतायत मात्रा में हो रही थी। When the cotton textile mills came up, they could get supplies of raw material with ease. अब आसानी से उनको raw material मिलना शुरू हो गया था, because after the rising up of the cotton textile mills, they came into existence and they already given in a easy way the raw material. Okay, see this one. Workers in a cotton factory, Sirsa, in the year 1900, photograph was taken by Raja Deen Dayal of that time. See, ये जो है यहाँ पे देखिए ये प्रोसेस, लेडीज़ का हमने आपसे बात की कि लेडीज़ मोस्टली इस काम में लगी हुई थी। By the year 1900, over 84 mills started operating in Mumbai or Bombay of that time. So starting of raising up of cotton mills became a symbol of the industrialization in India at that time, and near about 84 mills started in Bombay. When we are talking about the first mill, what happened? The first mill in Ahmedabad was started in the year 1861. अहमदाबाद की हम बात करते हैं तो वहाँ पे सबसे पहली जो मिल है वह 1861 में शुरू हुई थी. A year later, a mill was established in Kanpur in the United Provinces. See, on that time, Kanpur was under the United Provinces, and later on, after Ahmedabad, next mill was established in Kanpur. So, one by one, after Bombay, Ahmedabad, and after Ahmedabad, Kanpur was the main ports for the purpose of the textile market. The first major spurt in the development of cotton factory production in India, therefore, was during the First World War. See, जब हम फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर की बात कर रहे हैं उस समय इंडिया में क्या हो रहा था बच्चों? उस समय इंडिया में अगर हम बात करें मार्केट की, कॉटन मिल्स की, तो कॉटन मिल्स बहुत ज़्यादा हो रही थी. कॉटन फैक्ट्रीज डेवलप्ड हेयर एंड द प्रोडक्शंस इन इंडिया बिकेम high and high on that time. When textile imports from Britain declined, see what happened? The import of the textile declined from the Britain, and Indian factories were called upon to produce cloth for military supplies, because First World War was going on that time, and for the purpose of the military persons clothes were needed, and these clothes were supplied by the Indian mills. So here the declining of the British mills started and the rise of the Indian mills started. Okay. See, this was the weaver's portion. Okay. Now we are talking about the iron and steel, the next part of our chapter. See, this one is the sword, and this sword was of whom? Yes, this sword was of Tipu's. टीपू स्वॉर्ड मेड इन द लेट 18th century. जब हम टीपू सुल्तान की इस तलवार की बात करते हैं जो कि लेट 18th century में बनाई गई थी. सो व्हाट इज स्पेशल इन दिस वन? Yes, there was something special on that time. See what happened? We begin the story of Indian steel and iron metallurgy by recounting the famous story of Tipu Sultan, who ruled Mysore till 1799, fought 4 wars with the British and died fighting with his sword in his hand. See, the story of this sword, Tipu Sultan's sword, is this one, and this is the story of the sword of Tipu. And who was Tipu Sultan? Tipu Sultan who ruled the Mysore in the year 1799, fought 4 wars, not only with British and with others also, and died fighting with his sword in his hand. When we are talking about this sword, what happened to this sword at present? At present, this sword was in the museum in England. See, Tipu's legendary swords are now the part of the valuable collections in museums in England. But do you know why the sword was so special? This one is the main question of talking about the sword of Tipu Sultan. Why the sword was so much important? How it was made? So the sword was so much special, and just this was the reason why we discussed about the sword. See here, the sword had an incredibly hard and sharp edge that could easily rip through the opponent's armor. बहुत ही शार्प एजेस थे इसके, बहुत ही इनक्रेडिबली बहुत हार्ड थी ये, और इसका बेनिफिट क्या हुआ? इजीली रिप हो जाती थी अपोनेंट आर्मर्स के ऊपर. This quality of the sword came from a special type of high carbon steel called boots. which was produced all over South India. So this was the main reason why we are talking about the sword of Tipu Sultan at present. See here, the quality of the sword became so much special, and this speciality came from the high carbon steel, and the name of the high carbon steel is woods. So woods was mostly produced in the southern part of India. That's why we are talking about this sword. When we are talking about the woods steel, see, woods steel when made into swords produced a very sharp edge with a flowing water pattern. जैसे कि पानी की धार होती है, उसी तरह से जो वुड्स स्टील से स्वर्ड्स बनाई जाती थी, उनकी जो एजेस हैं वह भी इतनी ही शार्प होती थी. This pattern came from very small carbon crystals embedded in the iron. From where this pattern came from? This pattern came from the small कार्बन क्रिस्टल्स एम्बेडेड इन द आयरन. आयरन के अंदर जो छोटे छोटे कार्बन क्रिस्टल्स होते हैं, उनकी हेल्प से ही यह पैटर्न जो है वह तैयार किया जाता है. सी हियर, फ्रांसिस बुचनन who toured through Mysore in 1800, a year after Tipu Sultan's death, has left us an account of the technique by which woods steel was produced in many hundreds of smelting furnaces in Mysore. Who gives this knowledge to all of us? This person, Francis Buchanan, who came to India, who came to Mysore in the year 1800 after the death of the Tipu Sultan, and he had given all the story of the preparing of the woods steel. See here, the techniques by which woods steel was produced and how hundreds of the smelting furnaces started in Mysore. Woods is an anglicized version of the Kannada word ukku, Telugu hukku and Tamil and Malayalam urukku, मीनिंग स्टील. आप इसे किसी भी नाम से ले लें बच्चों. अगर हम कन्नड़ में बात करते हैं तो इसको कहा गया है उक्कू. अगर हम तेलुगु में करते हैं सो दिस वाज कॉल्ड हुक्कू. एंड व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द तमिल, सी, तमिल एंड मलयालम, उरुक्कू वर्ड वाज देयर बट द मीनिंग वाज सेम एंड द मीनिंग इज स्टील. स्टील के लिए कन्नड़ में, तेलुगु में, तमिल में और मलयालम में अलग अलग नाम दिए गए, बट उनका काम क्या था? एक ही नाम था और वह था स्टील. Indian woods steel fascinated European scientists also, and this was the main reason why the European scientists was so much eager for the sword of the Tipu. See here, बहुत ही ज़्यादा जो वुड्स स्टील है उसके लिए वो फैसिनेटेड थे, उसके लिए उनके अंदर एक बहुत ही जिज्ञासा भरी हुई थी. माइकल फैराडे, द लेजेंडरी साइंटिस्ट and discoverer of electricity and electromagnetism, spent 4 years studying the properties of Indian woods in the year 1818 to 1822. जब हम बात करते हैं हमारे यहाँ के वुड्स स्टील की, this one Michael Faraday came here and he studied up to 4 years. He was the legendary of the scientist, and see, he discovered of electricity and electromagnetism. So all of the studies, all of the properties of the Indian woods was discovered by this person. However, the woods steel making process, which was so widely known in South India, was completely lost by the mid 19th century. क्या हुआ बच्चों? जब इतना उठान पे था हमारे यहाँ के स्टील इंडस्ट्रीज की, जो यूरोपियन साइंटिस्ट थे, दे आल्सो केम हेयर एंड स्टडीड दिस वुड्स स्टील. So what happened? Why this steel plant also declining? Why the importance of the Indian steel became an end? See here, बहुत ही ज़्यादा साउथ इंडिया में इसका वुड्स स्टील का बहुत ही बड़ा मार्केट था, बहुत ही ज़्यादा इसको बनाया जाता था, तैयार किया जाता था. बट can you guess why this was so? Why steel or woods steel was declining on that time? The swords and armors making industries died with the conquest of India by the British and imports of iron and steel from England. See, the important reason of declining the woods steel was the swords and armor industries declining is the conquest of India, and this conquest occurred by the British, and these British imports the iron and steel from England, and they displaced the iron and steel produced by craftspeople in India. So this one is the main reason of the declining of the iron and steel industries in India, because that time we were under the British rule, and British import iron and steel from their purpose, and this one is the main reason. What happened? They again came here only for trade or territory capturing. Why all these things happened? Why iron and steel industries declined? This one is the main reason, or other reasons are also there. We will continue in our next part. Connect with us in the next part. Stay tuned, stay smiling.